We're
Okay,
live.
looks like we're live.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks again for being here with me. I think
Nice, nice seeing you. How you been?
pretty good.
Good.
Ooh,
What's new in your life?
last time I saw you was about 10 minutes ago in the living room.
Whoa.
So we're going over the highlights for our last accountability call, and maybe we'll hang out a couple minutes until some people might jump in with us. But you spent some time this past week clearing out your classroom.
Yeah, it was, well, you know me, I have 1,000,001 books. So I put them out for kids to take the books that they wanted to keep. And I was really surprised how much the boys went for books more than the girls, and that's usually the opposite. A lot of history books, a lot of action adventure. And so I asked them, I said, so why haven't you read these books for the last 2 years we've been together? And they just kind of laughed. Oh no. But I'm glad. I'm glad they're taking them and they could use them and hopefully read them and some classics. That's what I was so excited about. I was telling them I'm taking a small stack home. My excuse is always that you won't let me bring books home. But so I'm bringing a few, classics that I want to read along and keep maybe forever. Maybe bury them with me or whatever. So yeah, so that's kind of nice. But my room looks like the beginning before the school starts. Everything's on tables, it's chaotic, but it's okay. I think it's going to help the kids to transition easier instead of thinking that it's going, that we're going to be here, that nothing's going to change for next year when it is. So I think it's good. I think it's good that they see that I'm okay with letting things go. Um, so, it's a process. We have 3 months. We have to be out the last day of May, and we hand in our keys, and whatever's left is left, but they're hoping that nothing will be left. The two top middle class rooms will be empty. The two bottom, one will be for storage, and the other one is where all of our curriculum is for middle school. So having to do that also, which means then that I have to go in for a couple of Fridays. I'm off on Fridays, but I have to go in a couple of Fridays to have meetings and do whatever I need to do. So, it's a process. I'm glad I'm on it because I'm not one of these last minute people. Well, that's not true. I'm not one of these last minute people to get everything. I don't want to panic at the end. I just want to close the door and leave. So, and then plus one day, hopefully, in during Easter break, you'll be able to come and help me get out because I have, well, everything in our class except for the TV and the tables and chairs are ours. So we're going to need to bring those home and store them. So I have like 5 bookcases, a small file cabinet. So, that kind of stuff will have to come, all the boxes with all my teacher supplies in them. I'm so glad though that because I used to be changed from classroom I don't know, felt like every year. I was smart enough to keep everything in bins. So that should be pretty easy to go. Pack it up, throw it in the van, throw it in I think you'll probably, yeah, the van because we don't want lids to fly off, but throw them all in the van. I don't know where they're going. They'll probably go in the tiny house when we get home because I need to either sell them or whatever. I'm trying to toss as much as I can now, but it's a bittersweet. It's different than when you leave and the school's going to keep going. That's different than leaving and the school's closing. I like that. I don't like that the school's closing. I like that I can not be the center of attention when I leave because everybody's leaving. So, because I don't like being the center of attention. So that's the nice part. Yeah. And
Mhm.
then trying to figure out where you're going to take me for my retirement party.
I hear Hawaii's nice this time of year. I
I
was
heard
thinking,
I heard Mikey's going to get I don't know how big of a place, and we're all going to live there. Was that the plan?
yeah, they were looking for apartment complexes. I think we have a few people that like that idea. But I was going to go back to, so you put all the books out for in case some of the students wanted to take some home. And I think
Yeah.
part of that is hopefully, like you said, they will read them, but I think more of it is like to take part of you with them.
No, I
So
never thought of that. No.
yeah, because I think going through school there for the students and pretty much ending up with you in, being sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, that you're the majority of their good years there. So, that could be something that they're thinking about. And it is, um, like you said, I think even though the school is closing, which is not a great thing for the community, but a good way to end your career there.
Yeah.
So it can be bittersweet. They, and if people are jumping on with us, I see Mark and um, Curtis and Rusty. I think part of the reason that we were chatting about this for a moment is because it's part of our retirement journey, right? That's something that is uncertain and challenging and things like that in a lot of different ways. So hopefully, when some of the youngsters in the group get to our stage in life, the things that we talk about now might help them. But let's go back to the meeting last Wednesday. We had a really big group for some reason. There was about 38 people that joined the call. And we actually met someone who is just up the coast from us, probably about an hour to an hour and a half away. He's in Moss Beach, which is above Half Moon Bay, and Half Moon Bay is probably an hour and 15 minutes from us. So he's a few minutes past that. And then we had Joshua joined in. He's from Austin, Texas. Julie, who we got to meet at the event, Julie Birmingham. I didn't realize until after the event that she's a real estate agent, but she joined the meeting. It was nice to see her. And Jonathan from Shreveport, he was talking about having 30 units. He self manages. He seemed kind of a little bit stressed about wondering which direction he wanted to go. He said he still wanted to keep growing, but that he was tired. Um, but he had a lot of units that were like townhomes, and he was having some struggles with HOAs. And something that we've learned throughout this journey over the last few years is that most investors try to stay away from anything with an HOA because they're so unpredictable, and they're usually managed by a group of, I would say, the residents in that community. So if they're not managing it well, you could come up against some pretty high expenses unexpectedly that get spread over the whole community.
And
But
that committee makes a decision where the money's going to be spent. There's really not, I mean, I lived in a HOA situation before, and they have their meetings, but they really don't listen. It's like, this is what we're going to do. This is what you're going to pay. So write a check.
yeah, the I think Matt talks about an example where he got hit with like $70,000
Yeah.
assessment And if that's per owner, per
Mm-hmm.
unit, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
I don't remember what they were going to fix with that money, but or why they needed that much, but he had to sell. He had to sell that one, and luckily he was able to get out. But um, so there was quite a few people in the group trying to throw suggestions towards Jonathan and uh, help him figure out some ways that he might be able to keep moving forward since he still wanted to grow.
I think one of the things as I was listening is that I I think for us, I mean, if I was him and I was trying to look at it from his perspective and I was listening to everybody, I would have hung up. I'd have said, I ain't talking to you guys because at some point, at one point, it felt like he was being attacked and he was so gracious and looking at it differently. And it had to do with the way how people get so passionate and excited about trying to teach somebody or help somebody that it sometimes comes off that way. But he was really gracious and he listened and he gave feedback and that was good. And I don't know if somebody, usually it's JASIC, which I wish he would have this time, let him, just put his, everybody's different. We work differently. We handle things differently. Do what's best for you. Here we are just giving suggestions, you know,
Mhm.
because sometimes we know when you're in those stressful moments, it's like anything anybody's telling you, it's like, okay, I hear you. I just have to get out of my head to be able to do it, to make that decision. But he was very gracious. I hope he comes back. I hope he comes back.
Yeah, I guess maybe it takes a little while to be in the community to realize that, you know, people aren't attacking you or
Right.
think you're dumb or think your
Mhm.
processes are wrong.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
so I see it the other way. I see it like,
But you're in the community. You have to look at it from somebody who's not in the community.
yeah, but I don't think it's just that. I think it's your personality too. I think
That's true.
you, like we talk about you saying that I put too much out there,
You do.
out in public, but
You do.
if you if you want help, I think you need to.
I think you need to be selective of what you put
And
out.
if you
Yes, give all the
no, no, no,
information.
no, no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
if you can't take it, then you're in the wrong place.
yeah.
I've said several times that the group is a safe place, and somebody on that call talked about they had been in other accountability calls, and they apologized for complaining or sounding like they were complaining. It was one of the other people
Right.
that were new, but
Uh-huh.
I mean, if if that helps you, to get it out of your system, I let them know that it's fine with us. I mean, if you come back every week and you're just complaining, then that's a different story. But once you once people get to know you, know where you're at, maybe you can connect with someone in your area doing the same kind of investing that you're doing. Um, then you can move past what you're thinking of as complaining, but just letting people know how you're feeling, right? And then,
Right.
but then too, you need to be open to listen, and you can't just shut
Mhm.
everybody down with every suggestion that they make.
That's true. And those who are making suggestions need to also, if they've been in that spot, what it's like to hear that feedback. And yeah, I think it's a two-way street. If you're going to grow from feedback, you need to be able to listen, and the person giving the feedback needs to be able to listen and communicate clearly also. And as far as your little comment about um that whole putting everything out there, yes, for the problems that are happening, but not for everything that happens in our life. They don't need to hear all of that.
Well, all of that's tied together.
No,
Yeah,
no, no.
yeah. If my feelings get hurt every time you yell at me, it affects the decisions I make moving forward. So
Then
that's all the
maybe you,
information. That
then maybe you need to stop making me yell at you.
that's all part of, well, I've tried. I don't know for how many years, but I've tried.
Oh, please.
Um,
Stop it. You're making me sound like a grouch, and you know I'm not.
so do you have any comments we should look at before we get to the questions that I pulled up this
No,
week?
not yet. Nothing really. Nothing.
Um, so one thing that you and I were just talking
Excuse me.
about
Uh-huh.
was the the surprise or the shock of receiving the escrow analysis for one of our properties and
Good.
the fact that property taxes went up a bit.
A bit.
So I'm going to make a video about that this week to help explain that process because it's like a has a lag of a whole year.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us, well, I didn't understand it. Maybe other people in the group smarter than I am have or have gone through it already and understand it. But I think it would be helpful to talk about that for some people that have no clue, like I did. Um, so the first question,
Just a second. Peer support came up, and I think, yes,
oh,
peer support is good. And support, sometimes you need tough love, and sometimes you need just somebody to listen and let you vent and get everything out. And sometimes, there's different levels that of peer support, and I agree. Flavio, Frank, blink twice if you're in trouble. Honey, he should be blinking faster than twice.
I think I would just keep my eyes closed, period. That means come and get me, come and save me. Um, yeah, and I see Curtis's question in there about a trip to Washington. We were just talking with Flavio about that last night. I would love to go up this summer. You and I were just discussing the cat because he was alone for a week while we were in Vegas, and when we came back, he it seems like he has multiple personalities now. So that's
Yeah,
something
he's
we
not,
have to think.
cats aren't supposed to want to be hanging out with you and stuff, they're real aloof, but ours all of a sudden is, um, I don't know, wanting to be with us, and he's constantly talking to you, and it's like, well, yeah, shut up and go lay down. He just like needs to that contact. And it's like, hey, for how many years did you not want me to touch you? And now you want me? Uh,
And now he wants us just to sit there and jump back and forth between us
uh,
for attention.
you rub my tummy, you rub my head. Let me see. Um, is Richard Riley, is that Rusty?
Yeah, that's Rusty.
Okay, Rusty says, was just talking about this on Mark's live, just got hit with three assessments, about 800 to 1,000 increase on each property. Ouch.
Yeah, so about that, was that your property taxes, Rusty? For us, it was. And so, for example, last year our property taxes were about 4,600 and they jumped up to, I think it was 57. It was an $800 difference. So to me, you would take the $800 and spread that over a year and whatever that comes up to per month, right? But it's not. You're paying that whole $5,700 over 12 months. So I think that it worked out to like a difference of $4,600. So our payments increasing almost $400 a month. So that takes a big bite out of our cash flow. Um, and I'm wondering, Rusty, so if that was so in our case, it was a little bit of our insurance going up, but the insurance only was going to go up $400 for the year, and the rest of it was property taxes. And I was just going to ask if did you already understand that process? Because I didn't, and I had to learn about it real quick because it was frustrating at first. Like I said, it's an $800 difference. Why is the payment $400 more? So we're working through that right now. Do you have any other questions
You
that we
know,
should?
when I was thinking about that, when you were telling me that this morning, I was thinking it's like our regular taxes. If I have to think of it that way. So when people talk to me about taxes, when we're doing our taxes, so it's last year's. So my decrease in income is not going to affect so much. Or like when I was doing your medical, it doesn't affect so much this year what we have to pay. It affect because they take the numbers from last year and use those numbers to give me what we're going to pay this year.
Mhm.
So it's the same, that, and which I think is really dumb because they would take too much. But yeah, so I think that's how I have to think about it. It's not how much are we projecting we're going to make this year. It's how much did you make last year, because that's what you're going to have to pay off of. Even if I make a quarter this year of what I made last year, it's not going to affect us until next year, you
Yeah,
know? So that kind of stinks.
yeah. So it's just part of the game that, again, I wish someone had told me in the beginning. And I don't know if I had heard all these things in the beginning, if I would have even started again.
No, I think we would have started. I think we would have started well, I don't want to say differently, but that's what it would have been. It would have been I think we would have been wiser on how much we had to have, and we might have had um two pots to fill, one for your regular repairs and one for, or we would have tried to figure out taxes and stuff differently, or so you have another pot that has for those when they come up. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I think we would have looked at it differently. I
Yeah,
think that's what's so good about these groups is that as we're learning and we're getting hit with all this craziness, we're able to give that to other people. But on the same breath, they're not ready to hear it yet because they're not there. But hopefully, somewhere when they start to go through it, it'll click in their brain and they'll say, "Oh yeah, somebody said, where do I find this? Who
yeah,
do I talk to? Who can help me?" So that's good.
yeah,
Because when we started, nobody told us about that, or
yeah.
not that I remember.
That's a good point because sometimes people will gloss over that, right? If
Hmm.
somebody's thinking about buying a rental and we start giving them the list of things they should be looking at, they don't want to hear that. They
Right.
just want to get their deal, and unfortunately, they learn after the fact. But um, that's something we talk about a lot is trying to help people slow down, but they don't want to slow down. Once they get the first property, they get excited and just want to keep buying as much as they can. And everybody has different reasons.
Right.
My thinking was that we needed to get as much as soon as possible so that it could start um, that by the time we were ready to retire, it would be more stable and be providing a little bit of income.
Right. Rusty says the fees hurt most during the growth phase because reserves aren't built up yet from collection of rents. Rusty, don't you start out with a reserve for things that are coming up? I mean, things that might come up. So us, it's how much are we saving per door or per property? I forget.
10,000 per door, but like he said, so we did have a reserve account when we first bought the properties.
Right.
But still in the beginning, it feels like it's coming out of your pocket
Yeah, that's
because
true.
if you have the properties for 5 or 10 years and they've been able to accrue
Right.
reserves,
Do you
just like
mean
this recent,
more reserves? Because you already have those reserves.
yeah, but just say if you wanted 10,000 per door and you have 10 doors, so you figure you want 100,000. If you have 100,000 when you buy the properties and then as time goes on, you build up 100,000, then you would use the previous 100,000 to go buy something else maybe, or,
Got it. I
you
see what
know,
you're saying.
yeah, but in the beginning, it really was coming out of our pocket.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had to use our W-2 income
Yeah.
definitely because we burned through all our reserves and still needed more. Um,
So, but let's be clear on how we went through our reserves. We didn't go through our reserves because we didn't have it to begin with. Everything was settled, everything was filled, everything looked good. We thought we were already past all the garbage. So we remodeled the triplex to make the heating and everything else better, which cost a good penny. So it wasn't that we didn't have reserves. It wasn't that we were ready for things to come. We made the mistake of thinking that things were settling down and we were good to go, that we would be able to backfill anything without any problem. That's where we got in trouble.
and we bought that last property that we probably should have waited on because that used up about,
Yeah,
well, just to buy it was 30K, and then it had a few issues too, so probably spent about 40K of the
right.
reserve money to buy that one, and that was a mistake. Um, so it's really nice to see you guys here. Cynthia and I were just wondering, well, me more than her, was wondering how long we'll keep doing Saturdays. Uh, I'm not sure. And I was going to go back to Mikey's question about the school questions because I think he's trying to cause trouble with that one.
I do too.
I'll
And
just
I'm
leave
really
it at that.
surprised.
I'll just
I'm
leave it
really
at that. Yeah.
surprised.
Mikey will have to talk.
He's really started to change and I'm not liking the new Mikey. And we are gonna have to talk.
Well, he is newly married. I mean, sometimes women do that to
Don't
us.
even, don't even go there. I have one more property needing full renovation, then we're done for a while, stabilization time. Yeah, very
Yeah.
true, very true.
And I hope that the stabilization goes smoothly. We were, for the last several months, I would consider our stuff pretty stabilized. And then we're going through a turnover right now in the triplex. And it just seems like, I don't know if all the PMs get together or what, but all of the turnovers are like hitting that $6,000 mark. And that's just the last few that
Yeah,
we've done were like $6,000 each. Um, so maybe that's a question for you guys. Um,
yeah,
yeah. Um, that because that really affects your when you buy a property and you analyze it and everything, if everything worked out the way you planned, you're going to have, say, a whatever cash on cash return, say 10%, right? But then in that first year, you have a turnover and say it costs 6,000. So would you take that 6,000 and add it to, I just said we spent 40,000 on that one property. If we had a turnover in the first year and it cost 6,000, then does that mean you're $46,000 all in? How do people recalculate that? Because with Millennial Mike's last video, his cash flow is a myth. He talks about that and talks about the fact that the one thing that helps or saves us is time, right?
right.
Having the properties for 5 or 10 years. And this morning I was feeling like I don't know if I could hang on for 10 years. We're in year six. Dion had mentioned one time that because we don't see a lot of investors in the 7 to 10 year time frame, and he said because most people drop out before they hit that, they don't last 7 to 10 years a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
can
time.
understand why.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but we're staying, so get that out of your head.
Yeah.
I like Mark's comment about once you get a belt, it changes you. Mike, he's got a new attitude. He has an attitude now. Yeah,
Yeah.
I noticed that, and we're gonna
I,
have a conversation about that.
I saw the picture of Mikey sleeping with his belt under his pillow, so I don't know.
So Rusty says just he says those turnovers hurt. We have two right now, same costs, just doing what needs to be done. Haven't focused so much on expenses. That's going to be part of slowing down, stabilizing, and watch the numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. When in this recent turnover, I got the estimate for the turnover from the property manager, and they were thinking they gave us a price to put LVP throughout the whole unit, and it's the bigger of the 3 units, and that would have been like $12,000. And so I definitely don't agree with that, and that's why I've made the comment last week. I didn't know if I should just go and do it myself because for $12,000, I could have probably flown there and did it by myself and still done it for quite a bit less. But I talked to the property manager, and what we decided was for this time around, we will clean and repair the carpet because the tenant's dog chewed the carpet in a couple of spots. But the property manager, he went himself and took a look, and I told him, you know, we want to do what we need to so that the property will rent quickly, but I don't want to spend too much right now. And so he agreed. He thought we could repair the carpet, clean everything really well. We're going to do interior paint. We're going to modify some stuff in the kitchen. So that's another thing I was going to bring up is the unit had a dishwasher. So I asked him to remove the dishwasher and just put in a cabinet in its place. That will simplify the plumbing under the sink, and then to also remove the garbage disposal. Those two things seem to cause the most issues. So the other two units don't have those. So I thought it would be fine to make the third one just like the other two.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. What did he say? Did he say he thought that that would be fine, or did he say we should
Yeah.
stick with the dishwasher?
No, he thought since the other two units didn't have dishwashers that it made sense. And he also said, so we're going to do LVP in the kitchen and the hallway for this trip and then save up more money. And then maybe next time we could do the living room. And I would probably just do carpet in the bedrooms one more time to keep the costs down. And then finally do LVP in the bedrooms. It depends on the turnovers because this tenant was in there for a couple of years, which was nice.
Yeah.
So if we can keep them in there, you know, at least a couple of years, that helps.
Yeah. Um, let me see. Next time I will charge you 6K. It was from Flavio. Um, Nothing else much happening. Everybody's pretty quiet today.
Okay, well, that's good. I'm glad they're here. Um, so one of the questions that came up was, would you rather own rentals or own peace of mind? And I think
Can't
that's
think.
the,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that's the whole idea, right? To have rentals to give you peace of mind in the future
Right.
through the cash flow. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I think so too. I mean, because if, well, the only way you would have peace of mind and not have rentals as if you were a multimillionaire and didn't have to worry about any type of income because whatever was generating your income was stable, whether it was stocks and bonds, whatever.
Hmm.
So, yeah. So I think whatever it is that helps you sleep at night, whether it is that or not. For us, that's what it is. Although it's keeping me up a little bit, I've noticed. Couldn't figure out what it was that was keeping me awake, and that's it because I'm thinking about how much money we thought we were going to be bringing in when I said yes, I would go ahead and retire, and that's not happening. So that's adding a little bit more stress to my sleep at night.
Mm-mm.
But that's okay because it'll work itself out. I
Yeah,
got this.
I think even though there's a little bit of stress right now because of that, I think once you are retired and I don't know if it's the right term, but are able to think a little bit more clearly, some other options might come about. Um,
It's just a little bit not frustrating, but yes, I mean, people have good intentions and that's how I take it. And people say, do tutoring, do this, do that, whatever you like. There's a lot of components to whatever you decide to do. And it's not an easy, well, you were a teacher, so why don't you just tutor? Well, okay, well, there's all this other stuff you have to deal with to make sure that you're covered.
mhm.
So, yeah, I wish it was as easy as everyone thinks it is. It would make it so much nicer. But I
Yeah,
thank everybody for their thoughts and their prayers and what have you. So keep them coming because I'm still a little bit up in the air what I'm going to do, knowing I need to do something. So those are appreciated.
yeah, yeah, I agree.
Wait,
Um,
Mark, are you still there? Because if you're still there, um, you could teach me how to do your stuff, all the fun things you do on your live, and I will be there as your backup. I'm not going on camera. I'll be the backup person, but I need to make some bucks. So, because I know you're raking in the bucks off of YouTube and all the other stuff you're on.
yeah, all those ads that interfere with the
Yeah.
lives. Uh, okay, the next question is paying off your house overrated?
No, I don't think it's over. I don't think it's I don't think it's overrated because in a sense it gives you peace of mind because then all you have to worry, well, okay, so for us, then we would have that extra $3,000 a month, or we wouldn't have to worry about making up that $3,000 a month. So I don't think it's overrated because then our challenges would be insurance and all the other little stuff. You know what I mean?
Taxes.
Yeah, taxes. So it wouldn't be as it wouldn't be. I don't think it's overrated. I actually, when we first moved here, had before we went through bankruptcy, had already set in my sights when our house would be paid off and then putting money away for retirement. So yeah, I don't think it's and then sometimes I think it's also the time that we grew up because for my family, it was always pay everything and pay it off and don't be in debt. Um, so, I think that's part of it.
I think, yeah, I think it depends, like you just said, depending on where you are in life. Like for us, being at retirement age, I think for us it would make about a $2,000 difference
Hmm.
because $1,000 goes towards taxes and insurance, but um, maybe a little bit less. But that's a big swing,
Yeah.
and then you still have the option to sell and move if you want. And I've often thought about that if we could come up with a way to pay off what we owe we'd probably be able to sit tight for a while. But if if we need to, then you're kind of hoping for a better market for us
Right,
for selling. That was one of the other questions here that that kind of ties into this. And for us, it says, would moving out of California feel like failure or strategy? And for me, it was both. I think it would feel like a failure because it would feel like um, almost like we have to sell to make things work. So I wasn't doing things well enough or the right way to be able to afford to stay here. That's the failure part. And the strategy part came later because thinking of selling and moving to a lower cost of living market is a strategy, but that's not something that I thought of in the beginning.
right. Yeah, I agree. My choice, if it was possible, I don't even want to go there. It's not possible, so we're moving. So that's all there is to it. I'm not, I
Mhm.
don't, I mean, to me to think about whether it's a failure or not, or, we're pivoting, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. We have to do what we have to do so that our life can go on. Because if not, then we're kind of in our creek without any water.
Mhm.
So I rather not think of that. Denial, maybe, but it's not going to help. It's not going to help me with anything. It's not going to help me make a better decision. It's not going to help letting it make me lose sleep at night. So I just toss it out. It's not needed.
Yeah, I agree. Um,
Mm.
I like Anna's suggestion. I think, and our Cody has also talked about that. Our big Cody um, has suggested once or twice about selling. If we sell one of our properties, could we pay off one of the others and create greater cash flow? So I think that's an option. I think in a couple of years, it might benefit us. So in my head, I think like maybe sell the duplex and we could pay off two of the single families in St. Louis.
Right. Hmm.
Um, so I like that option. I think,
I do too. I like that.
yeah, I don't know if I could live in St. Louis. I think Anna grew up around there, if I'm thinking right, or she went to school there or something like that. Um, what else you got before I go to the next question?
Um, just a second, I'm making a. Let me see. Lynn says, I always think of moving somewhere else in California that is a lower cost of living. And I asked where,
Hmm.
because I don't know anywhere else. And Chris says, hello from Central Idaho. Busy homework week for me. Hope all is well. And then Jason says it's not failure, it's part of retirement planning, which is very true. Better way of living or better lifestyle, I guess.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, and Chris Webb.
Lynn, we're not moving to Bakersfield, honey. You know what's really sad is we went to go visit our friend on our way to Las Vegas, and she's in Bakersfield. Um, she moved there with her brother, and anyway, so she lives, and we were driving, and I thought to Frank, I said to Frank, I said, you know what? Every city is the same. If if you put Bakersfield and San Jose next to each other, you and no name of what it was, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart. Every city in every state, they're all the same. And I just, city life just is not for me. I don't, not anymore. It's just not for me.
Yeah. Well, I don't think every city in every state is the same. I know the big cities, like, because
Well, that's what I mean.
you can compare San Francisco to Seattle and things like that, and those aren't
Right.
places that we'd want to live, but maybe towns is a better
But
example.
Bakersfield isn't a town, it's a city. San Jose is a city. But
But I think
if we had towns, like if we were, what are those small little ones that sorry, I was reading Jason's comment. But so it's those little towns like when they pop up on where's the best place to retire and stuff, all those little towns, I could live in those. I'm a little town kind of person. I'm not a city person. Jason, you're gonna get me in trouble.
I think
Jason
well,
said, Jason said Bakersfield, that's where they kill all those people in the Running Man movies. Oh my gosh.
I wonder, Lynn, have you been to Bakersfield?
Not Lancaster either, Len. Well, Lancaster, no, yeah, Lancaster, not either. So you
Well,
got to remember, Frank is a little spoiled. See, because I was from Fillmore, which is down in Ventura County, kind of by Lancaster. So the heat doesn't bother me. It probably does now because I'm spoiled with this weather, but I could get used to it. But my sweet husband can't, the heat and the cold, they're hard on his body. Not that he can't handle it, it's hard on his body, from um all that labor that he does. So I need to take care of him. I need to make sure that wherever we go, one, he's going to have some place where he can do something. That's why he needs a shop. And so then he keeps moving. And then that it's not too cold and it's not too hot. Yeah, I just need to take care of him. Even though he says I don't need to, I'm taking care of him.
well, I think that was one of the other questions that popped up that I thought I shouldn't ask today, but it was talking about, do you think you can handle spending so much more time together in
I
retirement?
I've been telling you that for since we said I was going to retire. I say you can't handle it.
And I think just the opposite. I think you can't handle more of me.
Oh, please.
But I see Anna. So Anna did go to school near, not
Yeah.
too far from St. Louis. I
Mhm.
think for me, the winters are probably the biggest deterrent. Um, so I don't know. I think
Yeah.
I like the thought, but I don't know.
We're okay. You don't have to think about it. Take it out of your head. We're not moving to Missouri. Done. Okay. No, you don't have to worry about it. Don't lose sleep. Flavio says you're welcome to Washington. So what, Flavio? I'm not welcome in Washington. What are you talking about? He's a package deal. And Rusty's wife said, Katie says sometimes you have to let go of one dream to make another dream come true. Very true. Very true. Who's
Um,
Oscar? Who's Oscar? Is this somebody we know? Is this just a little, you know what?
no, Oscar's been around. Oscar, could you remind us where you're at?
So Oscar says all accents look the same. Hmm.
And what do you mean by that? I'm curious. And thanks for being here, by the way. Um, yeah, so I was thinking about what Richard or Rusty said, that Katie says. I wonder if he could elaborate on that. I don't know. Well, I guess when we were younger, I guess you could call it the fact that we dreamt of how things were going to be. That was another question that popped up. Like it said, like when you were 40, what did retirement look like then versus what does it look like now? And back then, I don't even think I was thinking about retirement. I don't know. I just assumed that everything was going to work out, but I didn't really give it any thought.
Yeah. And then now, and if I look at it now, looking back at my aunt and my uncle when they retired, life was rough for them. I mean, life was already rough. I mean, we were poor, but it was even more rough because we had that big earthquake. So they decided to leave the little town that they had both grown up and raised their family and what have you. So they moved out of there. So that was a big change. Then they had to move into an apartment. They never lived in an apartment before. That was a big change. And then just there was a lot of big changes. And I think the one takeaway that I have from watching them and things that were going on in their lives is that the thing that made it all work was that they had each other. That just that love that they had for each other. They were going to make it together no matter what was going on. And that was a big one. That really made me stop to think how lucky you are to have me.
I think our relationship is not the question. I think because we'll be happy wherever we're at
Mhm.
together, but money does help a little bit.
Sure does. So Lynn said Calaveras County. I could do Calaveras County. Jason said Sesame Street. I love Sesame Street.
I think
Jason, I don't know what Jason either hasn't had any coffee this morning. He has been up all night. Something's going on. I love it, Jason. Keep them
well,
coming.
it's after lunchtime for Jason.
Okay, so Rusty says exactly, and what makes it possible to retire? Even if you can't stay where you are, by adjusting location, you can have your dream of retiring and enjoying life. Very true.
Okay, that's a great point. Um, let's see. So the next question is, would we start real estate over knowing what we know now?
Yes. I don't know if people remember, I wanted to start real estate. Shoo, I was in my 20s and
Mhm.
just couldn't get the money and what have you. So that was always something that I was interested in, just as I was getting, it just never seemed possible. It just never seemed possible. So then when you got excited about it, it wasn't so much that I wasn't excited about real estate. We were coming out of a bankruptcy. And I was like, how in the world are we going to go and spend all this money when we can't even do whatever? So it wasn't that I was against real estate. I just didn't see the how. I just didn't see the how.
Yeah, I think I definitely would do it again. I think, especially knowing what we know now, I think we could maybe be a little bit further along, maybe definitely avoid some of even the lessons and the mistakes that we've made. I'm happy that we've learned from all of them, but it would be nice to have a little bit more of a shortcut to get by some of those before having to spend all that money. Um, yeah, I'm glad you're here, Oscar. I was wondering, um, how long have you been investing? And he was referring to a
A
song.
song.
Yeah. How long have you been investing? It would be nice to connect. I don't think we've ever spoken. Um, but it would be nice to hear more of your story.
Yeah.
Mm, I was gonna, I was started to mention Chris earlier. So Chris is the one who recently moved to Idaho and
Uh-huh.
started a new job. So hopefully that's going well. And we obviously missed him in Vegas.
Yes.
Um, but I don't think I could house hack with, well, I don't know, I guess what you mean by house hack. So if it was a duplex and we had our own unit, that's different than like house hacking with someone in the same house.
Uh-huh.
I don't think we could do that.
We can't do that. Um, well, I always tell my kids and all y'all that I don't have friends, so I can't house hack. It doesn't matter. I like Anna's comment that in Matt's live this week, he says self-management is possible for remote. It's now making me think.
Yeah, and Mikey is going to try one of his properties
Yeah,
in Pittsburgh, so that's good because he did find someone that he likes to do for doing his repairs and stuff when he's needed them. So that's great.
yeah. Cody said you have, I mean, Flavio said, Cody said you have all the tools to make real estate work.
Hmm. Yeah, and we have a lot more tools these days, so that's really nice.
Very true.
Uh, so another question: do you think so? When we started, excuse me, started over again, I mentioned I always mentioned the fact that I hadn't really saved anything for retirement and obviously felt behind. And the question is, do men struggle more with feeling behind than women might?
Just a second. Say that again, please.
Do men struggle more with feeling behind?
Um, I think that women think of it, well, I don't know. I don't think it's a gender thing because I thought about it. I've always thought about it. What's life going to be like after I stop working? I mean, that's always been something that's been on my mind. And again, because of family. So I don't really think it's gender specific. I just think it has to do with your personality. I need to see what's happening ahead so I know how to plan. I don't like surprises. And if something happens, then I need to try to find every possible possible outcomes for everything so that I have something to pick from when it happens. Because if I'm prepared, then I have control. I can control the narrative. If I don't, if it just jumps out, it's like, okay, wait a minute. Then I spin myself in a tizzy and I don't get anything. So I really have to know what are we, where are we going? What are we doing? So then I can prepare how we're going to get there. So I need that.
Well, since you say that, something I've been struggling with is the thought that, and I've thought it before, but I heard someone say the other day that your your life or your journey is already laid out, right? So it's going to be
Right.
whatever it's going to be. But I think where I struggle with it is like you come up against a situation and in one case, you just let the situation beat you down and don't do anything about it.
Right,
And the other side, you figure out a way to make it better.
right,
So
which is what I was talking about.
if your life is already planned out,
You have choices.
the
I know where
decision
you're
was
going with
already
this.
made. Yeah, the
No.
decision was already made
Yes,
for you.
it was, it is already made for us. Our life is already planned, but we have freedom of choice and we could choose whether to go right or left, despite what our plan is, because whether you believe in God or whoever you believe in, our God is not forcing us to go one way. We have a choice. He wants us to go the way he wants us to go down the path that he has chosen for us. We don't, because for some stupid reason we think we know better. And when we think we know better, that's when we get ourselves in trouble and have to get back on the right path. So yes, our everything is already planned. It's already been destined. Are we going to take that road there or are we going to veer off to the left because it looks better?
Well, if somebody, and we don't want to make things about religion, but do so if somebody has the choices in front of them and always makes the bad choice, is that how their life was supposed to be?
No, because they made the choice to go the wrong way.
Right, but if your life is already planned and nothing you do
But
is
they
going to
did,
change.
but their choice, their plan has not, and again, not to make it about religion, but God doesn't want bad for us. He wants good for us. It's Satan who wants bad for us. So if we keep making those bad choices, it's not God telling us these are the choices I want you to make. He's saying you have A and B. Which one are you going to take?
Yeah, but I think those are two different ideas
How?
because if your life is already laid out for you, whether it's God or
Yes.
the universe or whatever, your your choices almost don't matter.
They do matter. They do
Not
matter because yeah,
not if you're destined to have a bad life.
no one's ever destined to have a bad life. God does not want us to have a bad life. God wants only good for us or whoever you believe in. God wants only good for you. You decide if you're going to have a good life. The alcoholic, whether it's a disease or not, the alcoholic has that choice to continue drinking or not and do whatever they need to do to stop drinking or any other vices that people have. It's a choice.
I disagree.
Yeah, I know.
But you see my point that that's where I struggle, right? Because if your life is all laid out and it's going to end up however it was laid out, that means whatever choices we make don't really matter. But I
Oh,
can see the other side where, and we're trying, right? We're trying to make the best decisions for us moving forward. And that's how, so just say we keep trying and we keep trying to make better decisions. And not to say that our life it would be bad, but the the end result is what was laid out for us, if that makes any sense.
if we choose the right path, yes. So choice came about with Adam and Eve. That's where choice came about because we know that our God doesn't push himself on us. So that's where choice came. Um, I don't know how else to explain it, except for that, we have the choice to make the decisions that we make. So, okay, so let's take this back to real estate. So when we sat back millions of years ago in the office with Shane, and he was telling us how great it was to get all these loans. They'll just give you free money, blah, blah, blah. And we sat there. I was having a conversation with God and I was saying, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. And I should have spoken up. And I kept thinking, and I know that that was him telling me, you have a choice. You can either sit there and let this happen, or you can speak up and see if there's going to be a change. I chose the wrong one because I know that if I would have spoken up, you would have stopped to think about it because that's the type of relationship we have. You would have said, okay, let's take a step back, or you would have tried to convince me, and he would have tried to convince me, and I would have held firm, but you would have known what my decision was or and why. And and maybe you would have rethought things. I don't know. Maybe you wouldn't have. I don't know. But I think so that was my choice. So that's why I say that bankruptcy was not on you. It was on both of us. Me, because I didn't stop and listen and voice my opinion of what I thought was wrong. That's my choice. And because we made that choice, that I'm going to say because I made that choice not to speak up, we went the wrong way. God didn't want us to go the wrong way. He was telling me in my heart, no, this doesn't sound right because of the way that I learned about right and wrong. That's why when people say, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to do this under the books." No, under the table. No. That's wrong. I don't it's wrong. And at some point you're going to have to answer for it. It's wrong. So that's on me and that's choice. So because of that choice that we made, our where we had to go the long way around to get back on track to where we are now. Now, just because we're on track doesn't mean that we um just because we're on the right track, we still have to make choices to stay on the right track. That doesn't mean that our life is going to be all unicorns and rainbows. No, we still have challenges and we still have choices. Anna said, curious, what life are you destined to? Huh. What life are you destined to?
Well, so what you were just saying was because you didn't say anything and maybe that's the way it was supposed to be laid out because we were supposed to learn the lessons we had to go through the bankruptcy and all that stuff to
The
get to
lesson
where we're at today.
the lesson that I learned through the bankruptcy was that one, I need to listen to God and stop trying to stay in my own head, number one. So that's a faith thing. So that was on me. And I'm hoping you started listening to God, then we learned how to get through. We didn't get through that bankruptcy alone. That was all God, because I'm telling you, I was on the verge of, I didn't know what was going to happen to me. There was points there where I would fall asleep crying because I was so stressed. And that was all God that brought us through that. It wasn't us. He put the right people in our paths to help us through everything. And Sarah Lipowitz, she's amazing. I didn't always agree with how she described things were going to be okay, but she was put in our path for a reason. That's a God thing. So our and the bankruptcy, that's our consequence. We made the wrong choice. Our consequence is this is what it is. How are you going to get out of it? Are you going to lean on me or are you going to try to do this on your own again? Because you saw what happened when you did it on your own. Does that make sense?
Kinda.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just said kinda. What you got in there?
Who? Oh,
You, what are you reading?
it says, are you going to record the dinner table conversation later? And then Chris says, Choice is a great economics book as well. Yeah. Anna says, curious, what life are you destined to?
I don't know if we know that. We know what what we're shooting for, what we hope
Well,
to be like.
I think that's our lifestyle. I think I think I'm going to do I'm going to say that destin and purpose are going to be the same thing in this. Maybe she's thinking the same thing. So my purpose in life is to honor and glorify God first, to take care of my family second, and to do all I can to bring others to God. Whether it's I talk to them about God, whether it's who I am, what I do, all of that, that's my purpose. And in knowing my purpose, that's why I'm teaching. That's my purpose. So all of y'all who I get to talk to every week, and I'm hoping that, and it doesn't even have to be talking about God, that whatever we discuss, whatever laughs we have, whatever fellowship we have, that all of that is affecting your life in a positive way, even when we're messing around, that it affects your life in a positive way. Um, and let me see. Chris says this is interesting because we look to many others based on their journeys and think we can mimic their work, but we are all unique. What worked for others may not work for us. And with that, Chris, I agree. We need to apply the principles that we agree with, that work for us, and pivot on the ones that don't. For example, we can't do Matt, Zuber, Dion, Flavio, and anybody else's plan, how they are getting to where they're going to be. We can't do that for whatever reason. But we have the choice to take pieces from everything that they give to us in questions and answers and support, and help that and use that to help us to make better decisions and better choices and help us to grow in that way. So really, yeah, community is everything, but yeah. Sometimes we think about the destination more than the direction. Yes. Does this cloud our thinking in the middle? If we focus on direction rather than destination, would this help our perspective? Oh my gosh, you are such the teacher. um,
I like
oh,
that. I like that thought though, because I think it does matter if you're focusing on the destination, it can make you veer and take a direction that might hold you back from reaching that destination. So I like that a lot.
yeah. And then Anna says, geez, oh my gosh, you see, this is what I mean by community, and this is what I mean by supporting each other. She says, I asked because Frank sounds so depressed. You're not in trouble, are you? Well, it depends what kind of trouble you're talking about, but we're friends here to help so you can pivot. Very true, very true, very
Yeah,
true.
well, I guess I don't mean to sound depressed, but I think a lot. I think too much, and like sometimes the I don't know, maybe the thoughts go too deep, but we're no, we're not in trouble, and we love you for asking. We appreciate your friendship, and we're glad we can reach out to you any day with any questions. I think, and I know Cynthia believes as well that um, your thoughts and opinions are always super helpful, and I think we I think it would help us as much as it might help you to chat more often. So that's something that's always we're always available to do with you or anybody who just wants to chat. that's one of the things that I think about a lot for our accountability call on Wednesdays. That, and like I mentioned earlier, the person who thought he was just complaining or sounded like he was just complaining. But sometimes we just need to talk. It doesn't always have to be about real estate.
Yeah,
Although,
exactly.
in this group, that's usually the main focus, and we try to help anybody in that on that subject as well. But all these other things are, regular everyday life. So, um,
Yeah. That's why I used to tease you guys about the fact that life is more than real estate because it was like everything was real estate. And I was like, gag me enough. But yeah, everything was about real estate and life is more than just real estate. You have to have a well-rounded life. You have to spend time with your family. You have to yeah, you need to have some fun. You need to have some downtime. You need to be able to relax and take real estate out of your brain if it's going in circles and just do something else. You need
yeah,
to because if not, then you're just going to wear yourself down and you're not going to get anything done. Kind of like where I am or was.
yeah, I think I like Flavio's comment. Yeah, I do talk slow. I, like I said, I think too much. Sometimes it's hard to get the words out, but I and sometimes, James, I don't choose my words wisely, and that doesn't always end well. But what comes out is what I'm feeling, so I guess you got to take that too. Um,
Chris says, I can completely understand what Frank is talking about. Unfortunately, thinking can be excellent, but also reflective on poor decision. I tell people my football playing time trained me to forget. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I guess one question with all of these comments that have just come in is is the time that you're spending here with us valuable? I was talking to someone the other day about, watching stuff on social media and how over time we get more selective uh, as far as what we listen to or what we watch because, if the title says something that maybe you don't agree with or a point of view that you don't agree with, I will skip watching that because it's however many minutes, 20, 30 minutes that you can't get back. But I hope you feel like the time that you spend here with us is worth your time.
Chris says, I would get beat for touchdowns all the time, but then make an interception or tackle. We would win. Yes, mistakes happen, but we have to move forward. Exactly.
Yeah, great. Um, so what else? There's one or two more questions, and then we probably should
Peer
let folks get
support,
on with it.
sharing the good, sharing the struggles, sharing our time together. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice, the conversations that we've had with Rusty and his wife Katie have been really great ones too, because just for that reason, they share the wins and the struggles, and that's how that can really help a lot of people do better on their journeys. And that's pretty much my goal. Uh, and it kind of ties into what we've been talking about, ties into this question. It says, are most people honest about how they're really doing?
I don't know if it's that they're honest. as much as it is are people listening. So I've shared this one that people will say, "Hey, how you doing? Hope you have a good day." And then I say, "Are you doing okay?" I say no, and they go, "Well, we can." They didn't even hear the no. And I do it on purpose, hoping that it's going to catch your attention, that they need to stop and listen. So I don't think, yeah, I think, I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are too busy with what's going on in their lives, and maybe they're reluctant to tell if they're not doing great because, you know, they think someone will have a poor opinion of them or something like that. But I'm kind of on the other side, just like what we've been talking about now. I find I have to be careful and listen better to anyone that I'm talking to instead of just talking talking myself. I think I could be a better listener, and I'm concentrating on doing that and really hearing, like you just said, really hearing what the other person's saying, because my mind is always racing, and sometimes that gets in the way of me hearing what somebody's saying.
Yeah. I think one of the things that, one of the things that I've always been that the one of those that says that technology robs us of interpersonal connections, and nothing is more frustrating. Well, one, we're not supposed to have our phones off. We're not supposed to have our phones on and using them at school. I do because the office contacts me because I'm the backup when the principal's not there, or just because I'm on campus. So I have to have mine on. But I'll notice parents are on their phone and their kids telling them something that's gone on for the day. And it's like, I want to, yeah, will you get off your phone and pay attention? They're telling you something. And I think we don't even think about it as adults. Somebody will be talking to us and we're on our phone trying to, multitask, but really that's disrespectful because that person is giving you their time. So what a slap in the face. Sorry, you're not important enough for me to give you my undivided attention. Yeah, so that's one of the peeves that I have.
Yeah, that leads into another question that popped up for me is, has social media improved connection or hurt it?
I think it's two ways. I think it's allowed us, it's good because we wouldn't have been able to have these conversations and have these connections with people while we're here. I mean, well, we're here and they're in other places. We wouldn't have had that connection. So that's the good part. I think it hurts when you're on a one-on-one, and or even, yeah, whether you're one-on-one or not, and you're not giving that person who's speaking your attention, then the that's where the problem lies. So even if you're like, well, this is why I don't like reading comments, because if you're speaking, and that's why I've had to ask you to repeat. If you're saying something, I want to give you my attention 100% and not be on my phone looking to see what anybody's saying, so that I know how I'm going to respond. To me, that's just a respect thing. You're as valuable as anyone else, so therefore I'm going to give you my time because my time is valuable.
Yeah, I think, well, the other day you had texted me and told me to stop scrolling while I was talking to Angel, and I wasn't scrolling. I had sent Shane a message because Angel was wondering about insurance for his vehicle. So that's what I was doing. I wasn't scrolling, and I would never do that if I was one on one with someone, like you said. The other thought about that is, like, just between you and I in our relationship. I think it has it has gotten in the way a couple of times when like if I'm trying to do something, I'm just really heavy into trying to learn as much as I can about some different things that might help us in the future. And I was thinking this morning that sometimes there's like a little bit of guilt there because I'm trying to do this to better our situation, but on the other side, I would rather just be hanging out with you, right? Watching a movie or petting the cat or whatever, because
Mhm.
not just because he's a pain in the butt, but
Mhm.
that's time that we can spend together. And on the other side, I think it, even though sometimes you resist a little bit, and
Me
with
resist.
AI or whatever it
Oh.
is, but you've been learning some things too. So I like to see that because not because you'll be on social media at the same time I am, but because it's helping you learn something new and figuring out another way to do something that you've struggled with in the past or whatever it might be. So I think there is definitely good and bad scenarios for social media.
I don't like social media. Seriously, I don't like social media because, okay, the only thing I like is when I can send you clippings of things and make you laugh. That's the only thing I like. But because really, I mean, just like the thing with Oscar, when I was reading this, I didn't know who Oscar was and I didn't know if he was a bot. So it's like, okay, so is this somebody real or do I need to be nasty? So you don't know, and I know everybody who is on here, they're not being mean and nasty and what have you. I know that. Um, so I think people, and I think that's where social media people get in trouble because if I'm waking up in a nasty mood and somebody sends something, even though they didn't mean it that way, then all of a sudden everybody bombards them with all this garbage. I just think, yeah, I just think people are dumb sometimes. So
Yeah,
Mitesh is still recovering from Vegas. Me too, Mitesh. I had to work all week. Well, okay, I had to work Monday through Thursday. I usually only work 2.5, well, 3 days. And I'm telling you, I was dying. And yesterday I was off and I said, okay, so darling, when you leave, I'll be asleep. When you don't text me, don't call me unless there's an emergency because I'm sleeping and I won't hear the phone. Plus my phone's off when I'm sleeping. So, and then I woke up a stinking 8 o'clock, 8:30. So then I was up, but I didn't do anything all day long. I was like, okay, I'm just done. I'm tired. Yeah, that was a rough one. Vegas this year was rough. I don't know why. It just felt, I think because of all the stuff I had to do ahead of time to get ready for Vegas for as far as work and making sure my students were ready. So that made it a little bit harder. And the drive home was a little rough. It was a tiring one. Yeah. But me too, Mitesh. I agree. Phew.
yeah.
Oh,
I Oscar said, "Please don't be nasty."
I'm sorry, Oscar. I will never be nasty to you now that I know who you are.
I put my email in there, Oscar, for you also if you
Yes.
feel like reaching out. One thing I was going to mention was last year I started. Some of you might have seen the Meet the Investor series that we started, and it was some people from the community that we got to chat with and get to know and put them out there so other people could know their story as well. Tomorrow, I'm connecting with Andy, and that'll be part of that series. So if any of you guys feel like doing that, just shoot me an email and we'll connect that way. And usually it's like a 30-minute or so video. I'm thinking that we might do some of them live, so hopefully you're okay with that. But
Honey,
um, I just
you
like to
can't,
hear everybody's stories.
You can't see my face because we're in two different rooms, but on my face, I have this. What meet the investors? When did you do that? So it had to have been a long time ago, right?
No, it wasn't that long ago. There's a That just proves that you don't always watch my videos.
I
Um,
don't because they don't pop up.
but yeah, I'm gonna put a playlist together of those interviews. We've had, we did Zuber, we did Mark, Lindsay, Ashley, Val, Mikey, Cody. So there's a few of them in there already. Um, and the other thing, I don't know, I don't think I can do it here, but I'll put a, so this video will go on the channel and I'll put a link in there because we did what I called a rental reality checklist. Some of you already know about it and some of you have downloaded it, but it's just for new investors. Some of the questions that they might want to think about if they're thinking about getting into real estate investing. Some of the things that it would have helped us to know in the beginning, and it's free. It's kind of weird because when you go in to download it, the button says purchase, but you're not buying anything. It's totally free. So it would be nice if any of you guys want to check that out and give me your feedback on how it can be improved. Let's see. I think probably this last question, maybe we should end on this one, but it says, what's one small thing that made today good?
Um, Being here with everybody, that made things good. Having peanut butter toast and coffee with you this morning, that made today special. I like to think of every day. Well, usually when I'm driving home, I try to think of what's made today special. What has made this a positive? Because too many times I think we just look at the negatives. So that's my thing. I try to think of what's one positive thing that has happened. And to me, it's today's meeting was a good meeting, I think. Um, Talking to all these people on here has been really nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I know it's kind of hard to keep up with all of the lives and everything. I think Lynn and I think Dylan and Jack are on with her right now. They usually come on Saturdays in the afternoon. It gets kind of crowded, but we're glad you guys jumped on with us. For me, I think waking up for one, that's always a
Mm,
plus. And
yes. Being able to get out of bed is only kidding, only kidding.
but yeah, I think we were joking around this morning because it's been really, really cold here. Well, for us, and the house is always cold when we wake up. But since the weather changed, it was nice to be able to get up and not have to have all the heaters on and everything like that. And also to look forward to the new week. We have a new project that we're going to be starting on Monday. So that's nice to have something on the calendar. Um, there have been challenges shared in the community this week that are tough, but like Anna said, it's nice to have everybody here to bounce ideas off of and get helpful suggestions for whatever situation we're presented with each day. And I'll try not to sound depressed in the future. I'll try to
Mm-mm.
work on that because I'm really not. It's just a lot of thought. And
And he's not like this all the time at home. Trust me. If one of these days I'm going to put a hidden camera where he doesn't know, and you can hear him and see him, and you will say, "Oh no, that's not Frank." Yeah, that's the true him. He's not this sweet, quiet, mild-mannered guy. He's not.
I like Rusty's comment about the vision board, daily gratitude. Yes. And I shared a while back that I had struggled with that in the past where I'd be going through my day and, everything was going well. And maybe in that last hour of my workday, something went wrong. And I was letting that cancel out all the, 7 or whatever hours before that went very well and just concentrating on that negative thing. And I had to shake myself out of it because it just it just didn't make sense. So for 15 minutes of a struggle to cancel to cancel out 8 hours of a great day was just stupid. So I look at things a lot different now, and um, and it's been much better since I did that. And somebody recently commented on um, waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I think it's kind of the same thing where you're expecting something bad to happen. I mean, we know we're going to have challenges, right? That turnover, the vacancy, the unexpected repair. But if we're always waiting for that to happen, it's going to put a shadow on everything, all of the good stuff that's happening for us in the meantime. So I hope people start looking at all of the positives, and because also that thing might never happen, right? Um,
Right.
the heater may not break this week, or it
Mhm.
may not break for a couple of years. But if you're spending each day waiting for it to
Mhm.
go out, then that's not going to be good.
I don't know how I did it or when it happened, but I used to hold on to things a lot. And I try not to because that just puts us in a negative mind. So I try to, once I've said, okay, I'm done with it, then it's gone. And of course, it's not, because it'll pop up again and it's like, okay, wait a minute, I'm not dealing with this. And one of the things that my kids, get in their little tiffs with each other. And somebody will come and say, Mrs. C, blah, blah. I say, you know what? Not my monkey, not my circus. So I'm not going to, meaning I'm not dealing with it. This is not my problem. You deal with it, figure out how to deal with it, work through it. And then if you need help, then come and see me. Don't come see me when this stuff is starting. So I think when it comes to real estate and you tell me, this is what we're doing, this is what, and I ask, okay, so how are we going to handle this? And then you say, I'm going to do this, this, and this. Okay, then I'm not going to worry about it because you're taking care of it. And then I expect you, which yeah, I expect you to let me know if we ran up against something else or if it worked. And now I know if it works, you usually don't say anything, so I know everything's good. But yeah, so I think being able to have somebody to, I don't want to say drop things in their lap, but just to have that sounding board, figure out how it's going to happen, what's going to happen, and then let it go because you have other things that you need to deal with. I think that's what's kept me more sane in this whole real estate venture this time. It's helped me to think about all the other things that take my attention.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard not to. Um, Zuber talks about um, not just your network, not just monitoring your network, but monitoring the things that we watch on social media. And for a while there, and it's really true. Like, for example, if you're scrolling around and you see maybe it's a news article about something bad that's going on, or some, just for a weird example, like there was a bunch of videos going around about young people just doing smash and grabs in jewelry stores and stuff like that. Once you watch something like that, that's all that starts coming into your feed, and before you know it, you see 10 or 12 videos like that. And you know, that was probably not a great example, but it could change your mood really,
Yeah.
really instantly. And I had to be careful with that. Um, so now most of the stuff is either real estate or, you know, retirement content or things like that. So, but that can really drag you down as well. Um, it's not easy to get away from that once it starts going.
Yeah.
Did you have any last comments to look at? I see
Um,
Karen joined us. That's really great to see
yeah.
her.
She said, I really love this format because it's open and honest. Sometimes, Karen, though, I'm a little too honest. And then my husband, if guys ever pay attention, I try not to look at him on the screen. But sometimes if I'm too honest, he gets this look on his face that tells me, okay, back off a little bit. So usually I don't look at him on the screen because I know what that look means. So if I'm starting to go off on something, I happen to turn around and look out the window because I can feel that look. But yeah, I am all about transparency. Chris says, oh, Karen also said, I'm starting each day with writing down at least one thing I'm grateful for. I do that in the car on my way. What am I grateful for this morning as I do my morning prayers? What am I grateful for? And, which is good.
I
Um,
think that's
when we first moved here, I made a promise to myself that I would not m- miss all the wonderful things that are happening in our environment on my way to work because we're in a rural area. So, we have all the orchards and what have you. And so I notice things. I like to notice things. I like to see, oh, yeah, this is blooming. Oh, they have the sticks out for the apple trees. That means school's going to start or whatever. But noticing things because too many times we go through our days and we don't even notice the things that are right there in front of us. And those are all blessings, you know, they're wonders. They're great. Then Chris says, I met a guy once who wrote a wins journal. And recently I heard that confidence comes from the memory of winning. I think I need to start writing things down now. Me too. And then I have that one of my future habits will be to sit in the morning with coffee and write grateful things down. And then taking it a step further, and what challenges am I going to handle or start to handle that day? Knowing that I don't have, well, I do have a time pressure on some things, but not necessarily. So not feeling that pressure, that craziness that I feel every morning when I go to work. So, and then Dusty says, as Dion says, have a day full of awesomeness. Thanks, Dusty. So that's all I have. I'm done. I'm tired now.
yeah, I think
Um,
that's great. I think that was it's been a good live call today. I think, yeah, just thinking about your wins or like you said, all the things around us that we're thankful for. Um, one of the things that keeps me motivated, you mentioned being in an agricultural area when sometimes when I would be going to work thinking, I wish I didn't have to go to work. Um, we drive through the fields and just seeing all the people out there in the morning in the fog, the farm
yeah,
workers. And I would think, what am I complaining about? These people are out here doing it
exactly.
every day.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So that was a big motivation for me to keep going
And
because,
thankful that they are willing to do that.
mhm, yeah, a lot of people, I don't know, they have different opinions about that, but we won't get into that. But I think it was helpful to motivate me because every there are a lot of people who have it worse than we do.
Yeah,
No matter how bad we have it, there's always somebody who has it worse. So
true.
that's something that we can be thankful for right off the bat.
Yep.
So again, just want to thank everybody for joining us, and I think I think we'll
We'll
be
have at
here
least one
next
more
week.
week.
Yeah, I think so. And thank you again for taking your time to do this with me. I think a lot of people value your point of view because it's a lot of times opposite my point of view. So I think they get some good back and forth with that. And so we'll see you next week.
Okay, I'll see you in a minute because I'm hungry.
Okay.